Okay, so now we have our initial poses, right, for the beginning, end, and midway on the jump. Now we're going to create the two in-between poses to refine a little bit more the movement. If we play the animation right now, it looks kind of rough, a little bit linear. It could be okay as it is, to continue, but I think there's more that needs to be done to it to give it a little bit more of a natural look. So let's start with this pose over here. This is the one after the first one, right? Our second pose has a little bit higher waist. Notice how this one is a little bit lower, so it starts going up. And the arms, notice what happens. The arms go from way far back to now in the front, okay? The head seems to be a little bit more lowered because you're making an effort to jump, right? This is the one that you're kind of creating the strength for the jump. And the torso is a little bit less inclined than this one. It's more like on a 45-degree angle. So let's get started with that pose. First of all, let's grab the guy node, the main node here, and let's create that pose on frame 4. There's going to be a little bit of tweaking that we need to do next. I'm going to start with here in the toggle button, and I'm going to use the left viewport, which you can change over here. Just go left. And that way, let me make this a little bit bigger. Just dragging that up so that you can see the left here and the perspective here. Let's set auto key on frame 4 right here. And then let's set a position for that jump. It's not supposed to be as low as this one or as high as that one. So maybe you can make it just a tiny bit lower, and that's it. Okay, well, I would say much lower than that. And our key is set now on frame 4. Let's set auto key to off so that we don't continue setting other keys. And now we have to set the feet. The feet are going to be a little bit tricky because we need to set those keys on the ground. They need to stay on the ground, and we set a planted key for this one. Remember that? So we're going to just click with one of the feet selected. I have my right foot selected. The name is right here, right foot. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to hold the shift key down on the keyboard, and I'm going to drag that key to frame 4. Okay, what that's going to do is going to copy it. You see, it remains in position, and on frame 4 it starts lifting up, okay? And I'm going to do the same for the other foot. Okay, so I did it for the right. I need to do it now for the left. Let me catch the left one here on the perspective viewport. There it is. And I'm going to select that key with the left foot selected and holding the shift key down, move it to 4. Okay, and what we just did is we copied that key. Okay, so it's going to keep all the attributes that initial key had. And then as he starts here, what I'm going to do is rotate it a little bit. So I'm going to grab that rotation tool with that node selected. I'm going to rotate it a little bit, and I'm going to update it. Set planted key, and going to do the same for the other one. So rotate it and set key. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, he starts and the feet stay in the same position, and on frame 5 they start getting up. So that's exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to keep them in place with the planted key option, right? This one here, and make them as rotate it a little bit as he moves, right? And we're going to now work on that pose. He's not supposed to be so far forward as he is, so I'm going to move that guy node. Remember that I mentioned that we might need to edit it a little bit, and I'm going to move it back. So with our move tool selected on the left viewport, I'm just going to shift him a little bit back. Okay, should be enough that it's has a little bit of movement forward, but not too much. Okay, and I did not do it with auto key on, so let's set it set that key by just moving it with auto key and turn auto key to off. That way we set our key. If you notice, when you have set a key already, you can use this option, the offset key option, to update it. But to set that initial key where there's nothing on the main node, you have to use that auto key option. Okay, that's why I keep switching from one to the other. Okay, so our torso is not as forward or nearly horizontal as the other, so let's set auto key on, and let's also rotate it a little bit back. Okay, and that automatically updated that rotation node and set the auto key off. Okay, and we can always go back and edit it a little bit more, but for now I think it's going okay. And for that pose, now the arms are going to be forward, ahead, in front of the body. Okay, so let's I'm going to do it on the perspective viewport because I think it's going to be easier. So let me maximize that with the toggle button. And I'm going to just move the shoulder. No, I guess we need to move the arms, the hand with the hand node. I'm going to, not completely straight, but I'm going to set that key so that sometimes it clicks back before I set the rotation, and then set the rotation. Okay, on frame 4. So set sliding key. So I'll probably move it a little bit further in and update the key. Okay, so that's probably rotate a little bit to kind of angle a little bit the palm of the hand and update the key. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same for the other hand. I'm going to rotate it first, and I'm going to set a sliding key, and then I'm going to go move it down and put it as close as I can. It doesn't have to be exactly as the same as the other pose. If you want to use the other viewport for reference, it's okay, but remember to give a little bit of difference when you work on the poses so that it looks a little bit more natural. So let's hit rotate. Oh, I forgot to set the key, so let's set the key first. Frame 4. Remember, we're setting the rotation there. And I lost the pose, so let's key the rotation first, and then you do key the movement. We might need to set a key on, and I do it again. Okay, let's key rotation, and let's do it here on this viewport to kind of have a similar placement, and let's set a key. Okay, over here. And the shoulder is looking a little bit off, so I'm going to kind of like going in too much. So if you notice, it's going too far in. So let me just move that to kind of match a little bit more the angle of the elbow. And it's perfectly fine. We'll just go back and edit the hand again. Let me maximize that so that you can see better. So I'm just going to move the hand a little bit more to match a little bit better the position of the other one. Let's set the key. I'm going to go on the side view, and it's about the same, but I think we need to rotate it a little bit more. So let's rotate and set the key. And now I'm going to set the move. Okay, and set the key. Okay, good. So that's I just wanted to kind of match more the placement of the other arm. Okay, I can always go back and make it a little bit more straight or so, but this is pretty much the pose that we're looking for to have. A little bit of less forward movement. We want to have the arms in front of the body and knees bent. Okay, so let's see what it looks like. Our character goes up, goes tippy-toe, and jumps up. Perfect. So at this point, we have to then set this other position, right? So in this stretch position, that's pretty much what happens. The body is almost in a single line, almost, creates a curve. Very stretched. The arms are now in front of the body, kind of trying to push up, kind of higher. And then the legs are, the toes are pointing down, kind of stretching, right? And the legs can be completely far back. So let's start with the arms. So let's do that one on frame 8. And if you notice, I'm just simplifying this by splitting it in 4s. Okay, every 4 frame. So since we already have a transition on movement from frame 4 to 12, I'm just going to leave that main node where it is, and I'm going to just set a key with a tiny little variation of movement on the Y and Z axis to set the keys for both. Just for reference, so that if I have to update it, I can use this and then set auto key off. Okay, and that pose, as we said, is going to be very exaggerated in the hands. So now the hands are going to be way far up here, right? And so let's update them on frame 8. Say sliding key. And I'm going to rotate them a little bit so that they're more pointing up than forward. Okay. And when you do that, if you notice a little bit of clicking on the elbow, let me update that key first. Just don't make it lock entirely. There you go. Like bend a little bit further back. So update that key. And then I'm going to do the same for the other one, the other side. So I'm going to select the hand. And I'm going to go all the way up. And if you want to use as reference the left viewport, you can do that to kind of match the alignment. And again, don't lock the elbows too much. Give a little bit of way to the elbow. I'm going to set the key. And then I'm going to rotate a little bit because I don't want it to be, oops. I don't want it to be pointing sideways, but a little bit more like up than sideways. Okay, so I rotate a little bit and update. Okay, we can always come back to it, but that's how the arms react. What happens to the torso? The torso starting a little bit more stretch out. So I would say let's remove any rotation that you had on those 3 guys. So I'm hitting control, and with the rotate tool, I'm kind of doing that. Rotate back and set the key right there in frame 8. Remember that that if you're when you rotate, since we rotated first, if your arm starts locking, just move them back and update that key. So I'm going to move them back. I don't want that to lock, so sliding key. And when I say lock, is I don't want it to have a completely straight elbow, because that sometimes looks unnatural. Plus, it can give you problems when transitioning movement from key to key. So there, and sliding key. Good. So the feet on that pose, let's take a look. They're kind of stretched and pointing towards the ground, because it's kind of coming down from the ground, right? So I'm going to set that key initially on frame 8, and I'm going to rotate them a little bit. Set key, and grab that top tip of the foot, and set key, and the same for the other one. Okay, so I'm going to rotate it, set key, and kind of move it back. Just make sure, check on the other view that you're not locking the foot too much. Yeah, it's happening. And sliding key. You can always, if you want to lock the key, the feet, the knees is okay. I just don't like to do it. You know, it's you have artistic freedom to do so. So rotate that tip of the toe and set a key over there. Okay, so now we have our pose there from the second pose to the third pose on frame 8. And what happens to the face? The face kind of looks down. So if you want to set a key for the face, you can do that. So let's set a key over there, over here. Just rotate it a little bit. And good. And then next we have to do the position where excuse me, the weight is going to be caught on the, you know, on the two legs. So we're going to create that pose now in the next 4 frames over here on frame 16. Okay, so we have our 12 frame pose. Let me go back on this. And on frame 16, let's see what happens there. On frame 16, he is now starting to face, you know, to lean back, preparing for this pose. So I'm going to make him a little bit straight first, right? To do the torso position first so that you don't have to reposition the arms. If you do, that's fine. We just did it a few times and it's an easy fix. So on frame 16, he's already getting kind of ready to go down. So I'm going to initially get my main node, and with the rotate tool, I'm going to rotate him back. That will be my first change. Not completely, but kind of there. And so remember to set auto key before you make your change. And make him almost straight, you know, not quite. So once you have that, set auto key to off. And I'm going to then next work on the arms going forward and the feet going forward, right? The legs are forward in preparation for the landing, the, you know, the catching the weight. So let's work on the feet next. Okay, and I'm going to just rotate them like so and set a sliding key and move them. And remember, we are still on frame 16. Again, I don't like to lock the knees, so I'm just going to make them as straight as possible without having a straight line. And set sliding key, okay? Then I'm going to fix the toe, which looks a little off. So with the rotate tool, I'm going to just rotate it and sliding key, okay? And I'm going to do the same for the other. I'm going to rotate it first so that the heel goes down first. Set the key first on frame 16. We're still there. And then with the move tool, I'm going to move forward and set a key. And then we have to fix that toe, right? The toes are nice because they help you with, you know, foot direction and set key, okay? So let's see how it's looking. Comes from way back there to forward. Perfect. Next, we're going to do the arms. What happens to the arms? The arms kind of get back, and then this is something that you know, because you're pushing the body up on the previous pose and trying to regain balance with the arms. The elbows tend to be probably closer to the torso, trying to achieve balance, unless you're going sideways. And if you're going sideways, which will be a different kind of jump, then, you know, one arm will be a little bit higher than the other. So let's make the arms to be a little bit more kind of like an L position. You know, notice how it's kind of like an L shape. That might be a way that you can remember it. And set a key right there on frame 16. And I'm going to do the same for the other arm. I'm going to move it down and back. And you can always change your view to right, and that way you can see it from the other angle. And this one seems to want a little bit more of rotation. So let's set a key on frame 16 for that, and then move it back to have less rotation. Okay. And then update that key, and now you have that that pose for about to catch the weight. The head could be a little bit more lowered, so I'm gonna rotate it a little bit and set a key over there on frame 16 so that he, actually you could make it, the head direction doesn't have to be exactly as you have. There's no one specific direction, but you could make this one as a higher pose for the head to give a little bit of animosity to the pose. So we have our final final in between. No, we had the final in between pose will be this one. So let's see what happens on the next one. You're getting ready to land, right? So in this one, you kind of land on your feet, and your feet are your body is leaning back, and your arms are also leaning back. So let's work on that pose next. Let's go on the side view, the left viewport. And let's work on frame 20. And our position over there should be one of leaning back. So let's grab that main node, and with the rotate tool, we're going to lean the guy further back. Okay. Okay. So on frame 20, let's set auto key on, or it was on already. So we can do it either or. And set auto key to off. And I'm going to also, just to add a little bit of variation, I might do that later, kind of lean that a little bit further back and set that key on frame 20. And the feet, notice what happens to the feet. They're almost touching the ground. They're still straight. So let's try to move them, right? So let's select one of them and move it as far as maybe this place, okay? And set a key. I'm not working on the rotation at this point. I'm just making it almost touch the ground. I think that one locked the knee, so let's set a sliding key there, sliding key here. Actually, let's change it to planted. Let's see, first not to lock too much the not to lock too much these, and set a planted key. Actually, see, yes, sliding has to be sliding, sorry. Excuse me. Okay, sliding key over there, not locking the knees. I don't like to lock the knees. It's a personal preference for this rig. And set sliding key. Then for the arms, we said that the arms are pretty much very far back. So let's work on that position now. Let's just grab one of the arms, far back. And on frame 20, set a sliding key. And I'm going to just add a little bit of rotation. And set the key. And probably, oh, there you go, lower it a little bit more. You could do it a little bit more exaggerated than that. You know, notice how it's very far back. So I'm gonna set a key on that one. And then come over here on the shoulder and set a little bit more rotation on that one. So I'm gonna set it there and slide it, set a sliding key. And I'm gonna do the same for the other one. So I'm gonna select the other arm and move it back and set the key over there in frame 20, and I'm going to just so that I can see the other side. There you go, that's easier. Now we kind of flip the camera. Let's go back, set a key, and we might need to work a little bit on the, I think my computer is getting more hot right now. Okay, let's set the key over there, rotate a little bit that elbow, that forearm, actually the forearm, a little bit more, set the key. I'm just trying to match the other. It's actually a little bit too far in, so let's move it like that. This is refining, you know, the poses. So refine, probably rotate a little bit more this one so that it kind of lines up more with the other hand. So I'm going to go ahead and move it and key, and the elbows are too far back, so I'm just gonna rotate the elbows to move a little bit further out of the body, you know, for a more natural position. Also, it will prevent the arms from going through the body also. So I'm just gonna do that, update the key, and then rotate a little bit more this hand. Rotate, and then I'm going to rotate this one too a little bit more. Rotate, and then just get this one here and just move it a little bit further out. And update. I constantly update my keys just in case that I don't lose the position as I have it. And I see that somehow we got a little bit far off on the side view, which is okay because you can make those little irregularities or differences give personality to the animation, but if it bothers you, you can always move it back and rework it, okay? So you could do that and rekey it, okay? Back to the perspective view. Okay, kind of looks okay from what I see. So let's take a look at the left viewport, and on frame 20 we have our, well, our feet were supposed to be a little bit higher up. Let's see how that looks. And then they touch ground with this one. Okay, this one is gonna need a little bit of updating because we don't want that post to be so far. Plus, it kind of, the feet kind of slide. You notice how they, from frame 20, they kind of slide. So here's the trick that we used before. Remember what we did before? We hit the shift key down, right? And for the 2 feet, I'm going to set a copy that key so that that key goes over to the other foot, to the other frame here on 24. So I'm copying frame 20 for both feet by holding shift key and dragging it over. Let's see if the feet now, yeah, the feet now, you see now they stay in place, and that's exactly what we want. Now we work on the rotation, right? On the but before we do the rotation, let's move the guy forward. For some reason now it's moving back, so let's grab that main node, move him forward. Okay, And we also need to move, lean him forward. I think the rotation was, we didn't key rotation for that long. So let's, in auto key, oh, sorry. There you go, move, change the rotation and also change height and forward movement. How far? Let's see. It should be kind of in the way, so we're kind of there. Okay, so let's set auto key to off and let's rotate these guys. The feet now should be on frame 24. Rotate it down. So let's why are they, okay, hold on, let me see. We just need to rotate them down. Okay, let's rotate them down. So let's grab that foot and rotate it. It's just asking also to update the placement, we shouldn't. So let's do it there that way and set a planted key. Oh, it's reading the information from the rotation on that one, so let's do a sliding key then and rotate, sliding key, and let's do the same for the other foot. So let's grab that foot and rotate it to make it flat and move it down. You can press middle mouse button and you don't lose your selection. That's one of the beauties of that. Set your key and change that toe rotation. And set the key. Okay, see that improves. Yep, it looks better because now the foot looks like it has a pivot point on the heel, right? Instead of sliding. Good. And the forward position got fixed, and now we have to work on the arms. The arms go back. Okay, so let's select the shoulder and let's select the shoulder and rotate it back. Okay, and set your key on frame 24 to make sure that you rotate it. And we might need to do that because the arm might go through. And let's test the other one. Let's select the shoulder and move it back. And you can rotate it and kind of look on the left view over there. You know how far you want it to go. And update your key for frame 24. And if you notice that it kind of goes like that, it might or might not go through. Let's see. Nope. Oh, it's okay because it's going down. Okay, perfect. So let's see how it looks. Let's maximize our viewport and goes down, touches ground, leans forward, and there you go. So then you have, let's play it for a moment. You see it's a little bit better than what we initially had when we had the main 3 poses. So now you have, you know how to create the a jump cycle. So when we come back, I'm going to show you how to deactivate the controllers and make a render.